Hello everybody, welcome to the Game Warrior. Jason F. Smith here with you with my fourth review. I'm counting. And as you know, if you've been listening to the series, I'm doing a review of Time Stories and its expansions. So this is it. As of August, let's see where we're at, 18th. Sorry, 13th. This is as far as I've played in the series. And this is the review today, Under the Mask, which goes back to the year 1146 and is an Egyptian-based theme. Okay, so I'm going to take a little moment to deviate to give you a little structure and a frame for what I'm doing here, right? So I saw a review of the game Everdell, which I'm going to do soon, by Z Garcia of the Dice Tower, and he created a little structure by which he did his reviews, and I really like that. So I'm going to follow that structure today. So first of all, Time Stories is the game you got to start with. Okay, Time Stories is the game you got to start with. It's the base game. Every other thing that we've reviewed, including A Prophecy of Dragons, the Marcy Case, and Under the Mask, are expansions. They're called expansions. They're new scenarios. They're new games that you play. Okay. So you're up with me now? Great. Here we go. Under the Mask. So we just played this, and we played it Saturday and Sunday this last weekend. Same game group we played the whole time, and same tribe, and we loved it. We just loved it. Now we still at the end voted. I'm getting ahead of myself, aren't I? I am doing this out of order. Let's start with the theme and the atmosphere. That's what Z taught me. Thank you, Z. Theme and atmosphere. This was just 10 out of 10 for me. Loved going back to the Egyptian times. Thought the theme and the atmosphere was amazing. Just felt like I was there. So many descriptions of the heat of the desert. Just really felt like I was there. It had a real good feel to it. The art was great. It was just great. Second is aesthetics. The aesthetics of the game. I'm not really sure now that I think about it what he means by that, but in terms of the artwork that this game produced, fantastic. It always does really good artwork. That's how the story is told. That's how the game is played, is through cards that have art on them. And that's it, right? There's no pieces. Well, there's these little wooden pieces that you show to move where you're out on a board, but that's it. And there's no board. There's just these cards which have artwork on them, and then you take your little wooden piece and you put it on the board, on the artwork where you want to go, and then you flip the card, read it, and the game structures it from there. So the art again was fantastic. I really enjoyed that. Replayability, well, obviously 0. This game has no replayability. Time Stories is a weird game in that regard. Most games I review I'll be able to say, hey, you know, this has got some legs. You can play this for years, or maybe it's going to burn out real quick. Time Stories is done. It's a one-shot deal. So we considered that this game cost me $20 on Amazon, right? $20, and the fun of it was 4 people, and this was $5, and it took us. So the next thing that we have on the list is Game Length, and this one we probably did in 8 to 10 hours. This is probably our quickest one. There was also a piece to it where I will admit to cheating. Yeah, cheating. The way the game is structured, if you've ever played it, if you screw up, you get to do it again, right? Do it again and again. And there were certain pieces of that do it again that we said, well, you know, like we know we're going to get to this part here. I don't want to go through it all again. We just know we're going to get there. So we just started there. And the game has little start points. You know, like a save game in a computer game, it's like, well, I'm not going to go back to the beginning. You don't have to do that. Time Stories kind of can do that sometimes, give you little pieces where you don't have to start completely over. There were a couple places where it did that in this game, and there were a couple places where it didn't. And in the places it didn't, we were like, I don't want to play that again. So it was a little shorter this time because of that. It was pretty simple. Like, it was a simple story. It went along, and there's a lot of, how do I describe this? Almost red herrings in the previous 3 games, where the puzzles are so confusing and you can just make massive errors. This one, and this was a positive for me, it was kind of a negative for other people, it was pretty straightforward. Like, this was a mystery. You should probably check that out. That kind of leads you here if you're thinking straight. there's some clues, but we should check there, and then we should check there as you're solving the mystery. And it kind of came together. Now, we could just be smart, and we certainly are in terms of the game now. We're 4 games into it. We're starting to get to know how things work. But there was one element at the end where you go through a tunnel, okay? And in previous games, I'm pretty sure, that would have meant something different than it did. And in this game, it meant exactly what it meant. So that's a little vagueness for you. If you've played the game, you know exactly what I mean. And so it was just straightforward, and I really kind of enjoyed that. And in fact, it actually eased my nervous system a little bit. Sometimes I feel like the designers are trying to outthink me. And by outthinking me, they just make it so goddamn confusing I can't fucking understand a thing. So they just mislead me, and I'm like battling their ego. Like I'm battling the designer's ego because they want to feel good for outsmarting me. And I see that in TV shows a lot, right? If I do some reviews on TV, which I will, you see writers are just like, I don't want you to guess what I'm doing, so I'm going to make it so goddamn confusing. Case in point, Westworld. Go watch Westworld. Eventually, in the second season and third season, which I haven't watched the third season, but the second season, they just decided, well, they'll just make it so stupid and crazy that you'll never guess it. Oh, we didn't guess it, and the surprise was stupid. So you're just trying to, like, it's okay, is what I'm saying, in a game, in a show, in a book, to let people figure it out. I mean, you don't want to make it too obvious, but there's this ego thing going on. Under the Mask, I just didn't see that ego. It was an atmospheric story. There was a puzzle we went through. There were some elements that felt like they were in there for atmosphere, and I thought should have been more related to the story. And it turned out they were just atmosphere. So there were some red herrings, so to speak. I mean, there was a political movement going on with the pharaohs behind the scenes, and I was like, woo, getting excited. And it was less complex than I thought. Again, on one side, I really liked that. Like, we just played it. I didn't feel like someone was trying to fuck with me. And in the previous 3 games, I definitely felt, particularly the first one, this one, someone was definitely just fucking with you. Like, ha ha. The designer's going, I gave you all the clues, you went there, and then I fucked you. I mean, really, you're like, okay, you got me. You got me. I guess, and this one was just more organic. And for me, I liked it. A couple people in the gaming group, they're like, it was a little too simple. Like they wanted to be fucked with more. There you go, right? So, ease of play is one of the final areas that we talk about, not the final one. This one was really easy for me, and it introduced a new mechanic that I really liked. I saw it when I started, and I didn't like it. So usually you get a choice of receptacles or characters to play. And part of the game is figuring out, like, what's going to be the best to solve the problem, right? That becomes part of the puzzle. And this one, you're only given 4 players, 4 receptacles. I was like, so that choice part was taken away. What they added, though, and this was really neat, was as you went along in the game, you would meet characters and you had the ability to jump into them and take them over, like possess them. And so many people came to you that you had to choose wisely who to possess, because you could only possess so many people, right? So you could jump from character to character to character. And some big people, like leaders, and you go jump into them, take them over, learn what they learned, go do it. But if you jump into the wrong person, you could totally screw yourself, right? You'd waste your limited supply of possessions. Oh, I loved that mechanic. I thought that mechanic was one of the best they've come up with, the new ones. Really highly, I love it. I wonder if they'll do it again sometime. I don't know. This is the end of my knowledge and knowing when it comes to this game. Though I have ordered today Test of Endurance, I think, which is the next one in the line. So, another cool thing about this is it had a couple callbacks to the previous one. So they're building kind of a story, right? Little tiny thread through the whole thing. I love that. I talked about that in my last review, the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe, where, you got an Iron Man here, Captain America in there, and you've got a Wasp here, and you've got an Ant-Man there, and Thor, and they all kind of weave together, and then they come together in the Avengers. I'm hoping we get an Avengers at the end of this, like the final story is an Avengers. It all comes together and you're like going, mind fucking blown. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I will be disappointed if they didn't tie it together and make that happen. I think that's the genius thing to do. I think that would change, that would just blow everyone away. Tell a good story. So far, these have been great stories. I've enjoyed them. I've enjoyed the challenge. Some are harder than others. Some are more atmospheric than others. Some have just been impossible, some of them. There was a puzzle, I think, maybe it was Prophecy of Dragons, where it was just fucking impossible, And as a side note, I am a game designer, game warrior, right? And so in role-playing games, there's a tournament at Gen Con called NASCRAG, okay? Jenny and I, my wife, have written for 4 different years, and one of them were a trilogy, a series of 9 different adventures. So it was a tournament-based adventure, a little bit like Time Stories, a little bit like a game where you get into the game and you take characters and you have to solve problems, okay? It's a little bit more wacky, it's a little bit more fun, but it's definitely an overarching theme. And one of the things that we always wanted to do was really, really challenge people, but at the same time not get them stumped where they just got stuck, right? And there's times in Time Stories where you just sit back and you're like, well, fuck, I give up. Like we did everything. What more could we do, right? And so as a game designer, I designed fail safes in there. Like if you failed 3-4 times, then something kind of came up. You had to lose something. You lost some points or you lost something along the way, right? That didn't make you feel great, but it didn't stop the story. Because nothing is worse than playing these games, these puzzle games that you're trying to solve things and just getting stumped. And then eventually, if it gets too hard, there's no fail-safe out the back door, you end up just quitting, right? So you don't want to make it too easy. You don't want to make it too hard. It's an art. It's a science right in the middle. And Time Stories has been effectively doing that. Okay, sometimes it's a little too hard, sometimes a little too easy. But you can tell that the designers are trying, like they're trying to do it. The problem is that there's no fail-safes. If you do hit a block, you just sit there and twiddle your thumbs and you're just fucked. So that's something I hope that they effectively fix in the adventures going forward. We'll see. Right now, I can tell you this, like a sum of the whole thing, we're in 4 adventures in, and again, like about 20, 22, 23 bucks. Screw it, right? We're in. We're gonna do it. We're gonna play these. The group loves them. This one is the lowest ranked. It's number 4 of the 4. One thing about it, for some reason, it didn't get me thinking as much. Like I didn't stay up as night. We took 2 days again to play it, and I didn't think about it at night. Like it's the first one I didn't really dream about. Like, what the hell's going on? I just figured we'd solve it. We'd just get to the next one. So while that eased my nervous system and I was a little more relaxed, I was just goddamn tense. I also was less tense and less into it a little. So, pros and cons, but hell, I just had such a great time, so I don't care. Don't care. Okay, everybody, thanks for watching.